right, welcome to the show, the unofficial Toronto Maple Leaf post-game breakdown. Leafs get a 4-0 win over the New Jersey Devils tonight in a fantastic 60-minute effort. Definitely a good omen going into the new year. I think it, could be the start of a turning point here with them just finding some positive energy, especially when there's no Matthews, no Nylander, your big offensive players are out. So everybody kind of had to step up tonight, and fill in the roles that, they needed to fill in. Guys came up, played well, they made the simple plays, and they just overall just had a very calm sense about them this game. There wasn't really a lot of doubt in this game whatsoever that the Leafs were going to lose it or make some dumb play. It just seemed like a really solid 60-minute effort. Obviously, that has helped when your goaltender posts a shutout, the third of his career. With Wall being in net, he just has such a calming presence with this team. It just seems like whenever he's in net, they're so much more willing to take risks on the offensive side of things because they know that their goaltender has their back. When he's in net, he just seems to just swallow everything up. There's just no real secondary rebounds or any like scrambly chances in the crease. It's just very calm. It's very calm, very sheltered, just makes the plays. And I think it gives the guys a lot of confidence. If this is a Hildeby night, I don't think the game turns out with the same result. I still think the Leafs would win, but I think it would have been a little more of a panic game, especially because New Jersey's a skilled team. They put a lot of pucks towards the net. They make it difficult. And with that being said, the Leafs, kept a lot of shots to the outside. They got in the lane, so they really shut them down on the offense tonight. It was really great to see. First period, they start well. And it's something that we've seen a lot more frequently from this team lately is they seem to be starting well. They start on time, but then they have problems finishing the game. It's like half of the second period or sometimes the third period. They're just not very good at closing out games. And tonight it was just every period was solid. There wasn't any questionable points where I thought they were going to lose it. It was fantastic. Yeah, let's go to Nyes real quick here. So Nyes is a player that's been pretty quiet lately, except for the last, game or so. But other than that, he seems to go on these little streaks where he just doesn't seem to do much out there, and then he just comes out and looks like a star player. It's odd. It's something that Leafs really need from him is consistency for him to be that player because when he's so physical. He's fighting guys. He's chirping. He's pushing guys around, putting pucks in empty nets. He's just such an offensive presence, especially on the physical side of things. Because when he starts hitting, it seems like Wah gets going. Even Robertson threw a couple hits tonight. It just seems like it's almost like a follow the leader type of scenario, and everybody seems to get in on it. Obviously, you're not really getting that from Matthews or Nylander. So if you have one of your second tier star players, in my opinion, start laying the body and being physical, it really just hypes them up. And you can see it from the fans too. There's not a lot of energy in Scotiabank Arena as of late, but you could see it tonight. A lot of the fans were stoked, especially on such a hard-working effort with all the hits. Like people were having a good time down there. It was rocking. I must say, it was really nice to see. What else we got here too? And one interesting stat that I actually saw tonight that they posted was the Leafs have 109 even strength goals this season. That's second in the NHL, which it doesn't seem like the Leafs have scored that much to have the second most even strength goals in the league. But I guess it makes sense in a way because their power play was so bad. The only time they ever scored was even strength. So that's an impressive stat. Good on them for getting it done 5-on-5. Speaking of the power play, I really think it's made such a difference having this new coach in here. It seems like Steve Sullivan has just put a little more structure in it in a way where it's almost like less structured now. And what I mean by that specifically, it seems like he gives them a lot more, you know, like he gives them a lot more room on the ice to create things, and he kind of directs them to make a simpler play, move around a little bit, move the puck, and don't try anything high risk. It just seems to be very simple now when they're doing it. I don't think that was a power play goal tonight. I think it expired just before Waugh scored, but basically a power play goal in my books, anyways. But no, it just looks like they have a lot easier time breaking in the zone. They seem to skate it in now. I didn't think it was really going to last. I thought it was still kind of a new coach bounce, but it seems like they've really fundamentally changed some things, maybe even in the psychology of them, to just be able to get it done. Make it simple. Make the simple plays, and you will be rewarded. And it seems to be that way. What else we got here? Leafs penalty kill was fantastic, as it usually is. That definitely helped them keep this lead. Definitely helped Wall with a shutout too. In your penalty kill, especially tonight when it was like 6-on-4 there for a little bit, or even 6-on-5 with the empty net. New Jersey had a lot of chances, and the Leafs just seem to have a lot better man-on-man coverage. I've been saying it for a long time. Is when you see power plays. I know it is 5-on-4, but if everybody for the most part takes a man, or at least takes the scoring, kind of like how the NBA doubles up on certain players who are very good at making the jump shot of the three. Your percentage chances of getting scored on are so much less. They're just doing a fantastic job of that. It's really keeping them in some games here. McMahon tonight too. I'll do McMahon and Robertson. McMahon is a player similar to Nyes, I would say. It seems to be very streaky. He's such a big body on the ice, and he has the speed. He just doesn't show it that often. It's kind of a frustrating, thing to see, because he's such a valuable player when he's playing the way he is. But then there's moments and times where he just goes silent for so long. But you see him tonight. He's got the speed. He's got the hands. He has everything needed to be a really good quality player on this team. He just needs to, find some consistency in his game to do it a lot more often. So for now, it's going well. I hope he can keep it up in the new year. We'll see. Yeah, Robertson, that was the other thing too. Yeah, Nick Robertson. With him being in the lineup a lot more often, it makes a difference. I think he's really gained a lot of confidence lately. I see him whipping around the ice. He was even laying the body a little bit tonight too. He's getting in scrums, and it's just from a fan perspective, it's so nice to see a player leave their heart and soul out there and just give it all. It reminds me of Kyle Lowry, to be honest with you, a guy who just would take charges and just throw his body everywhere and just get the ball. Like it's similar to Nick Robertson. Obviously, it's a hell of a comparison. I'm not saying it. that Nick Robertson is going to end up being remembered like Kyle Lowry, but he plays hard. He skates hard, and yeah, he makes a few mistakes here and there, but at least he's trying. He really has a lot of energy he brings to this game. The last couple games too, he just seems to be releasing howitzers from all over the place. Like when he shoots it's going. It's nice to see. I'm impressed with how he's been, especially with him and Cowan in this lineup. They seem to have a lot of good plays together. They're passing it around, and they're just pretty dangerous. When they're on their ice, you do expect them to score. It's kind of an unlikely pair that seem to be working out pretty good. Riley for the most part didn't have too bad of a game. I was kind of happy with him for the most part. You know, I think he could be better sometimes, but tonight he had a pretty solid game, so I guess we'll keep him for now. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Leafs have a full 60-minute effort. Everyone played well, and hopefully it's a really good omen going into the new year, because these guys definitely need it. I think there could be some real good things waiting in the new year. So thank you to everybody who tuned into this. Really appreciate it. Definitely going to be doing more of this in the new year. Maybe have some guests on, or some other little things will change up. But I've loved doing it. I really appreciate everybody who watches, and I'll see you in the new year. And I hope everybody else has a really great New Year's Eve and a safe one too. So God bless, and I'll see you in the new year.